The aphorism, "As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he," not only embraces the whole of our being, but is so comprehensive as to reach out to every condition and circumstance of our lives. We are literally what we think, our character being the complete sum of all our thoughts. Now, this is true, as our character, or we could say self-image or personal identity, is made up of beliefs. And these beliefs play out automatically as the outer expressions of life. These beliefs were once formed by thoughts that were persisted upon, thoughts identified with. He then goes on to say, "As the plant springs from and could not be without the seed, so every act of the individual springs from the hidden seeds of thought and could not have appeared without them." This applies equally to those acts called spontaneous and unpremeditated as to those which are deliberately executed. So any act was first a thought. Even if one was not aware of the thought, an automatic act is the result of a thought persisted upon. For example, one may think that they are confident, but in the presence of an audience, they may act differently, demonstrating lack of confidence in themselves. Their acts are revealing what thoughts they are identified with, what they once persisted upon. And no shame or condemnation there. As long as they are aware of this, they can practice not identifying with those unhelpful thoughts if they arise, and the experience will change to reflect their authentic way of being confident. He says, "We are a growth by law, and not a creation by artifice, and cause and effect is as absolute and undeviating in the hidden realm of thought as in the world of visible and material things." A noble or godlike character is not a thing of favor or chance, but is the natural result of continued effort of right thinking, the effect of long-cherished association with godlike thoughts. Now, given that we have the ability to think for ourselves, and knowing that what we think feelingly upon, and by that I mean accept as true, plays out as the experiences of our life, we are thus the master of thought, the molder of character, and the maker and shaper of condition, environment, and destiny, as he says here. Of all the beautiful truths pertaining to the soul which have been restored and brought to light in this age, none is more gladdening and fruitful of divine promise and confidence than this, that we are the master of thought, the molder of character, and the maker and shaper of condition, environment, and destiny. As a being of power, intelligence, and love, and the Lord of our own thoughts, we hold the key to every situation and contain within ourselves that transforming and regenerative agency by which we may make ourselves what we will. We are thus the landlords of the Garden of Mind. That's the Garden of Eden. And as we always say, acceptance of the end wills the means. Thus, a thought persisted upon from the end, and by that I mean having what we desire, already being what we desire, leaves an impression on the heart, as the title of the book indicates, which heart in the Bible refers to the subconscious mind, which consists of thoughts once persisted upon. And this is happening all the time, as he says. One is always the master, even in their weaker and most abandoned state, but in their weakness and degradation, they are the foolish master who misgoverns their household. When they begin to reflect upon the condition and to search diligently for the law upon which their being is established, they then become the wise master, directing their energies with intelligence and fashioning their thoughts to fruitful issues. Such is the conscious master, and one can only thus become by discovering within self the laws of thought, which discovery is totally a matter of application, self-analysis, and experience. Now, one of the reasons why I love the work of James Allen is that Lily Allen, who was James's wife, had mentioned that James would never write about anything unless he had lived and proved what he was sharing in equation extensively. And it is apparent in his deliberate, conscious choice of words, mixed in with his poetic style, and the results that many have experienced from living by this book. He says, "Only by much searching and mining are gold and diamonds obtained, and one can find every truth connected with their being if they will dig deep into the mine of their soul, and that they are the maker of their character, the molder of their life, and the builder of their destiny. They may unerringly prove, if they will watch, control, and alter their thoughts, tracing their effects upon themselves, upon others, and upon life and circumstances, linking cause and effect by patient practice and investigation, and utilizing their every experience, even to the most trivial everyday occurrence, as a means of obtaining that knowledge of themselves which is understanding, wisdom, and power. In this direction, as in no other, is the law absolute that he that seeketh findeth, and to him that knocketh it shall be opened. For only by patience, practice, and ceaseless importunity can one enter the door of the temple of knowledge." So you've heard me refer to this many times over the years in conversations. What I call cause and effect reflection. Tracking effects in the world that appears back to the one universal cause within, which is related to by thought and thus appears accordingly as effects. Let's explore this further in this chapter of the book, Effect of Thought on Circumstances. He says, "Our mind may be likened to a garden, which may be intelligently cultivated or allowed to run wild. But whether cultivated or neglected, it must and will bring forth. If no useful seeds are put into it, then an abundance of useless weed seeds will fall therein and will continue to produce their kind. Just as a gardener cultivates their plot, keeping it free from weeds, and growing their flowers and fruits which they require, so may the individual tend the garden of their mind, weeding out all wrong, useless, and impure thoughts, and cultivating toward perfection the flowers and fruits of right, useful, and pure thoughts. By pursuing this process, one sooner or later discovers that they are the master gardener of their soul, the director of their life. They also reveal within themselves the laws of thought and understand with ever-increasing accuracy how the thought forces and mind elements operate in the shaping of their character, circumstances, and destiny." So what he's saying here is that every undesirable circumstance in this world, without shame or condemnation, is an opportunity for cause and effect reflection. Now there's only one cause within, I am, which may appear outside, like the burning bush to Moses that pointed to the one cause within. Exodus 3:14. "And God said unto Moses, I am that I am. And he said, Thus shalt thou say unto the children of Israel, I am hath sent me unto you." So a question worth asking as applicable in relation to undesirable circumstances, which this book prompts over and over again, is what thought, train of thought, or belief is reflecting as the effect in the visible world, and thus subconsciously related to the one universal cause within, I am. When awareness is brought to this thought, or we could say the story one is telling themselves, which is a train of thought, they acknowledge how inaccurate it is, and they no longer identify with it, and the circumstance changes to reflect what they desire it to be as. As he says here, thought and character are one. And as character can only manifest and discover itself through environment and circumstance, the outer conditions of a person's life will always be found to be harmoniously related to their inner state. And your state is a body of beliefs which is made up of thought formations, and just as they were formed, they may be reformed. So no shame and condemnation. Now is where all the power is. Consciously think feelingly from the premise of having, because, as he says, everyone is where they are by the law of their being. The thoughts which they have built into their character have brought them there. And in the arrangement of their life, there is no element of chance, but all is the result of a law which cannot err. This is just as true for those who feel out of harmony with their surroundings as of those who are contented with them. As a progressive and evolving being, we are where we are, that we may learn, that we may grow. And as we learn the spiritual lesson which any circumstance contains for us, it passes away. Spiritual lesson, as he refers to, the way I like to see it, is mind purification, releasing identification to thoughts that are not true to your true nature of happiness, bliss, love, peace, and fulfillment. As mentioned, beliefs play out as circumstances, and as the mind is purified from them, those circumstances don't play out. I've seen this in my life many times. Undesirable patterns playing out in personal relationships, for example, again and again, until awareness was brought to the belief. And as identification was released to the belief, the relationships transformed accordingly. He says, one is buffeted by circumstances as long as they believe themselves to be the creature of outside conditions. But when they realize that they are a creative power and that they may command the hidden soil and seeds of their being out of which circumstances grow, they then become the rightful master of themselves. Thus, there is only one cause within. The effects are what this one cause within is thought of as being. He says that circumstances grow out of thought. Everyone knows who has for any length of time practiced self-control and self-purification, for they would have noticed that the alteration in their circumstances has been in exact ratio with their altered mental condition. So true is this that when one earnestly applies themselves to remedy the defects in their character and make swift and marked progress, they pass rapidly through a succession of vicissitudes. So simply put, purify the subconscious mind from false impressions and guard it from false impressions by taking your attention away from any thought that is not considered ideal. Because, as he says here, every thought seed sown or allowed to fall into the mind and to take root there produces its own, blossoming sooner or later into act and bearing its own fruitage of opportunity and circumstance. The outer world of circumstance shapes itself to the inner world of thought. So thus circumstances reveal what is related to the one universal cause within I am, that appears as and animates all that appears to reveal what thoughts have been persisted upon. As he says here, circumstance does not make the man, it reveals him to himself. He says, in the light of this truth, what then is the meaning of fighting against circumstances? It means that one is continually revolting against an effect without, while all the time they are nourishing and preserving it in their heart. Again, the heart in the Bible is the subconscious mind, which stores the thoughts identified with, which the one universal power within takes those impressions and externalizes them for you. So if the change occurs within, the change appears in correspondence. So what can one do then to apply all we have discussed thus far? Well, apply the power consciously now, as now is where all the power is, as he says. A particular train of thought persisted in cannot fail to produce its results on the character and circumstances. We can choose our thoughts and so indirectly yet surely shape our circumstances. Nature helps everyone to the gratification of the thoughts which they most encourage, and opportunities are presented which will most speedily bring to the surface those thoughts. The world is your kaleidoscope, and the varying combinations of colors, which at every succeeding moment it presents to you, are the exquisitely adjusted pictures of your ever-moving thoughts. Now let's explore the thought and purpose chapter, which is key for applying this book. He says, until thought is linked with purpose, there is no intelligent accomplishment. With the majority, the bark of thought is allowed to drift upon the ocean of life. Aimlessness is a vice, and such drifting must not continue for those who would steer clear of catastrophe and destruction. So I always recommend having a vision, a definite major purpose in life. I found thinking accurately is a lot easier because I always have a definite major purpose. And the same is the case with those that I've worked with. When one has a definite major purpose in life, their mind is less open for inharmonious thoughts to fall in, as he said here. Those who have no central purpose in their life fall an easy prey to petty worries, fears, troubles, and self-pityings, all of which are indications of weaknesses, which lead to unhappiness, for weakness cannot persist in a power-evolving universe. So weakness is not the true nature of self. The self is power, and power is directed by purposeful thought. He says, one should conceive of a legitimate purpose in their heart and set out to accomplish it. They should make this purpose the centralizing point of their thoughts. It may take the form of a spiritual ideal, or it may be a worldly object, according to their nature at the time being. But whichever it is, they should steadily focus their thought forces upon the object which they have set before them. They should make this purpose the supreme duty and should devote themselves to its attainment, not allowing their thoughts to wander away into ephemeral fancies, longings, and imaginings. This is the royal road to self-control and true concentration of thought. For more on this, I recommend my vision video from the start of the year, which I'll link to in the description. And, as he says, those who are not prepared for the apprehension of a great purpose should fix the thoughts upon the faultless performance of their duty, no matter how insignificant their task may appear. Only in this way can the thoughts be gathered and focused, and resolution and energy may be developed, which being done, there is nothing which may not be accomplished. And one proves this by applying this. I remember I used to do this when I used to work in a warehouse when I was a teenager. I would turn these repetitive tasks into games. For example, I would time myself and then aim to beat the record. This allowed me to practice focus, consistency, and concentration. He says, to put away aimlessness and weakness and to begin to think with purpose is to enter the ranks of those strong ones who only recognize failure as one of the pathways to attainment, who make all conditions serve them, and who think strongly, attempt fearlessly, and accomplish masterfully. So I get asked a question a lot. How does one not get swayed by opinions? And my simple answer is, if they are not in harmony with your vision, don't identify with them. If it is extremely challenging to do so, I promise it gets easier with practice, and you'll eventually be able to do it calmly as you listen to yourself and trust yourself more so each day. He says, having conceived of their purpose, they should mentally mark out a straight pathway to its achievement, looking neither to the right nor the left. As mentioned with practice, this becomes automatic. And why do we do this? Well, threefold. On the journey to actualizing your vision, self-realization occurs, as in you know thyself. Number 2, the mind is purified. And number 3, you actualize the following, which he concluded the book with. He says, calmness of mind is one of the beautiful jewels of wisdom. It is the result of long and patient effort in self-control. Its presence is an indication of ripened experience and of a more than ordinary knowledge of the laws and operations of thought. One becomes calm in the measure that they understand themselves as a thought-evolving being. For such knowledge necessitates the understanding of others as a result of thought. And as they develop a right understanding and see more and more clearly the internal relations of things by the action of cause and effect, they cease to fuss and fume and worry and grieve and remain poised, steadfast, serene. The calm having learned how to govern themselves, know how to adapt themselves to others, and they in turn reverence their spiritual strength and feel that they can learn of them and rely upon them. The more tranquil one becomes, the greater is their success, their influence, their power for good. Even the ordinary trader will find their business prosperity increase as they develop a greater self-control and equanimity. For people will always prefer to deal with those whose demeanor is strongly equable. The strong, calm individual is always loved and revered. They are like a shade-giving tree in a thirsty land or a sheltering rock in the storm. Who does not love a tranquil heart, a sweet-tempered, balanced life? It does not matter whether it rains or shines or what chances come to those possessing these blessings, for they are always sweet, serene, and calm. That exquisite poise of character, which we call serenity, is the last lesson of culture, the fruitage of the soul. It is precious as wisdom, more to be desired than gold, yea, than even fine gold. Tempest-tossed souls, wherever ye may be, under whatsoever conditions ye may live, know this: in the ocean of life the isles of blessedness are smiling, and the sunny shore of your ideal awaits your coming. Keep your hand firmly upon the helm of thought. In the bark of your soul reclines the commanding master. He does but sleep. Wake him. Self-control is strength. Right thought is mastery. Calmness is power. Say unto your heart, peace, be still. So I trust you found this video to be helpful. Let's conclude this with an auto-suggestion to further encourage. You could say, I direct the two gifts of mind and speech to live the life I truly desire by allowing my attention to remain exclusively on all that is in harmony with my vision, allowing the world to rearrange by the unseen power within me to reflect as heaven on earth my grand vision actualized. If you would like a copy of this mind map, the link is in the description. Thank you very much for watching. I'll talk with you soon. Take care.